Hello everyone and welcome to another show of Book Talks. As you can see, it's my favorite time of year. It's Halloween. That means scary stories, spooky ghost stories, horror stories, thrillers, some of my favorite kinds of books. And you know, there are all the classics. You got Stephen King and all sorts of other great authors. But you know, last year I was thinking to myself, hey, I want to try something new. So I picked up this book, Marie Antoinette, Serial Killer, from my local Barnes & Noble because the author Katie Allender does great horror stories. She wrote this trilogy, the Bad Girls Don't Die trilogy. It was great, very scary. I still can't read it at night. I love it, and I was really excited to get to read this, so I'm going to review it for you today. So this book is about a girl named Colette who goes on a field trip to Paris with a bunch of other students for spring break, and while she's there, you know, she's a bit of a mean girl, and she undergoes kind of the normal transformation that you see in books when you have the main character as someone who's not necessarily a standing up citizen. But then, you know, there's also thrown in ghosts and all sorts of spooky stuff around Paris, and it's just, I was disappointed. I was really hoping and expecting a great new thriller from this author because she had delivered so well before, but I ended up having two kind of big problems that stand out for me with this book. And the thing is, the first one is the scares aren't scary. And they advertise this as the new thing, the new big thriller novel, the new horror novel from great author Katie Allender, and I was really disappointed when it didn't scare me, because I think I've gotten worse scares from Goosebumps. And the concept that she's going with, that obviously the ghost of Marie Antoinette is the one behind these killings, which is fairly obvious because it's in the title, is a great one to go with. And I just wish that some of those parts where characters getting snuck up on and all that stuff just could have been a bit creepier and kept me up a bit at night a little more. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is the title. This title kind of says to me, I mean, when you say Marie Antoinette Serial Killer and you give me a cover that looks like this, I'm thinking this is probably going to be one of those more gory kind of horror stories, not one of the psychological kind or anything like that. And yet it wasn't. And the thing about a title is it needs to define what you're going to see, because it's the first thing that a reader sees when they're trying to figure out a book is, here's the title. And the thing is, it just didn't define it very well, and I think there could have been a better title. I'm not sure what, but I think she could have found a better title to give this book. Now, on the other hand, there was a great overarching story. The way that the ghost story tied into the main character's development, I mean, I won't say too much because it gives a lot of the ending surprises away, but it was done fabulously. I loved how it tied in. It had a good plot, and it was a good read. My problem with it is was supposed to be spooky, it was supposed to scare me, it was supposed to leave me in suspense, and it didn't. So in conclusion, I mean, I'd recommend it because it was still a good story, but if you're going to read it, I warn you, it's not what it's necessarily advertised to be. It's not going to be very scary. So I guess if you're someone who's looking for a horror book that isn't really going to keep you up at night, or you can't do scares very well, then this is probably a really good one for you. But if you're someone who really likes the scary stuff, you can still read this, just don't approach it the same way that you might approach like Stephen King's Carrie or The Shining. Anyway, that's it for today. Please, if you have any comments, questions, ideas for books that we should review, please put them in the comments section below. You can get this book, I think it might be in the library. You can ask the librarians, they're very helpful. And you can also find it at bookstores such as Barnes & Noble. See you next time. Thanks!